Okay, the mnemonic major memory system is used to remember ordered lists of things where order is important as well as number. In other words, applying it to the presidents and their corresponding vice presidents, I can tell you who the 20th president was, and that was James A. Garfield, and who the corresponding vice president was relatively easy. That was Chester A. Arthur. I just picked that out of my head. I know everyone backwards and frontwards like that. It can also be applied to any numbered ordered lists of things where number and order is important. Okay, and it's based upon the fact that we as human beings remember things audibly as well as visually better than we do without using those senses. It's very difficult to visualize a number. Okay, extremely difficult. Most people can, except for a few people in this world that have a brain disorder, which they automatically associate numbers to colors or other visual things. For the rest of us, numbers are very abstract and very difficult to visualize. They don't mean anything in and of themselves. Okay, so the premise is, the idea is to convert numbers into meaningful images. Now that's done using the phonetic alphabet. And as you see, the phonetic alphabet takes our digits in our number system and converts them into sounds. Number 1, for example, converts into the sound that D and T, or the combination of TH, makes. D, duh, ta, or thought. Now you need to memorize those, 0 through 9, the numbers in our number system, the digits in our number system, I should say. Okay, and once you memorize those perfectly, then you need to memorize, then I guess what I should say first is, then as you can see, any number in this, any word can be converted into a number using the system, and any number into at least one word can be converted into at least one word. Now, in the system, vowels and the letter and the sound for W or Y do not count. So in other words, if you ask me what number the word hello converts into, the H part converts into nothing. It's just the L. There's only one consonant sound in that word, and that's the number 5. So when you say hello, I think of the number 5, and then if you give me the number 5, I can easily convert that into the word hello. That's how it works. Now, there's certain peg words you need to memorize. There's 100 of them for the numbers 1 through 100. They're all based upon the phonetic alphabet. But you need to memorize these, and it might be a little tricky. It might be slightly difficult for some people to do this, but anyone can remember them. Now, I'm going to show you the peg words for numbers 1 through 50. Let's concern ourselves with those to start. Now, you need to memorize those, and there really isn't any magical way to do that. But anyhow, once you have those memorized, then numbers 1 through 50 will actually mean something to you visually. Okay? Now, once you do that, here's how it works, applying it to memorizing the presidents and their corresponding vice presidents. Let's pick a president or a number randomly. Okay? Let's say the number 12. Okay, the number 12 converts to 10, T-I-N. Once you memorize those peg words, you'll know that immediately. Now, when I use that peg word 10, I think of the Tin Man from Wizard of Oz. That's the first thing that pops in my head. So that image comes up to me when you say the number 12 or when you say 10. Okay? Now, we need to link that image of Tin Man from the Wizard of Oz to an image we create for the president, the 12th president. Now, the 12th president was Zachary Taylor. Okay? Now, this part can be a little tricky. We need some imagination and creativity to convert Coolidge, Zachary Taylor into a meaningful image. Now, this isn't perfect, this memory system. It doesn't replace your true memory. It only aids it. And if you practice it enough, your true and trained memory will almost merge into one. They support one another. So it's not perfect, but it'll remind you of Zachary Taylor. You need an image that'll remind you of Zachary Taylor. Now, we can visually look at the word Zachary Taylor and come up with one. Maybe you can think of Zach from a TV show. Wasn't there Saved by the Bell? Zach, remember him. And then link that to Taylor. Maybe a Taylor sewing. That's one way to do it. I find a pretty good one is to remember Elizabeth Taylor. If I can envision Elizabeth Taylor, when someone asks me what president the 12th president was, I think of the Tin Man. And if you can tell me, if I can envision Elizabeth Taylor, I'll immediately know that means Zachary Taylor. I mean, we've all heard of Zachary Taylor. We just didn't know there was a 12th president. So we need to link the image of Elizabeth Taylor to the image of Tin Man. Maybe you can envision Elizabeth Taylor starring in a movie with Tin Man. Maybe you can imagine Elizabeth Taylor being dressed up as the Tin Man. the more ridiculous the association and imagery, the better. The more out of the ordinary, the better. Maybe we can envision the Tin Man making out with Zachary Taylor, or something more lewd. That would even be better. Something very crude, very lewd. Would work perfectly. It almost makes you chuckle thinking about it, but that's what you need. Something very vivid and memorable. Okay? Once we have those two images linked in our mind in a scene, then there's no forgetting. We know immediately that the 12th president, we think of Tin Man. Then when we think of Tin Man, we think of Tin Man making out or doing whatever with Elizabeth Taylor. Now, the question, who was the vice president for Zachary Taylor? Well, looking off the list, you will see that it's Millard Fillmore. Okay, now, most of us have heard of the words Millard Fillmore, the president and vice president. In this case, he was a vice president. However, we didn't know he was the vice president for Zachary Taylor, and which was the 12th president. So we need to create an image for Millard Fillmore. How about if you look at the word Fillmore, F-I-L-M is the beginning part of it. Maybe we envision someone filming the Tin Man making out with Elizabeth Taylor. Will that be enough if we remember filming, someone filming, Fillmore, filming? I think it'll be enough to remind you it is Fillmore that is the vice president for Elizabeth Taylor. So once we have So there you have it, an example of remembering the 12th president and corresponding vice president. Now, this can be applied to any other president as well. Let's take one more example. Calvin Coolidge, have you heard of him? Probably have. What president was he? You probably don't remember. Now, I immediately know that was the 30th president, and that his vice president was Charles Dawes. D-A-W-E-S. By the way, I forgive you for my nasally type voice. I do have a cold right now. Okay, so the number 30, as we see in our list, converts, as we saw previously, converts to the image of mice. Okay, so when we look off the list and find that the 30th president was Calvin Coolidge, the number 30 immediately elicits the image of mice. Okay, so we need to link the image of mice to Calvin Coolidge. Now let's convert Calvin Coolidge to an image. Let's not worry about the first word, Calvin. Let's think about Coolidge. Well, we can think of a cool refrigerator, Coolidge. That might help. I found a pretty good one. How about the Kool-Aid Man? Remember him? The red guy that danced around and had the smiley face and two little eyes and carried Kool-Aid from the commercials. When I think of the Kool-Aid Man, Coolidge, that's enough for me, and it's a pretty vivid image. You can use whatever you want. Now, if we use that, we need to convert that image to the image of mice. How about, instead of Kool-Aid in him, a whole bunch of mice, 1 million of them crawling out of him? That's pretty good. So let's use that. So now we have the scene of, now when asked, Calvin Coolidge, what president was he? I envision Coolidge, the Kool-Aid Man, and I see the mice, number 30. Now, who was the vice president for Calvin Coolidge? If you look off the list, you'll see it's Charles Dawes, D-A-W-E-S, as I said before. We need to convert that now to an image. A little more tricky. Let's not worry about the first name. Let's worry about the second. Dawes. D-A-W-E-S. Phonetically, DOS. It sounds almost like the operating system. Remember that from the old Windows, from the old Microsoft days? DOS. Now, what can remind us of DOS? If you were a programmer, maybe you can envision a few programming statements from DOS and link that to the image of a Kool-Aid, the Kool-Aid Man. Or for me, maybe this. Maybe Bill Gates. I can remember. He immediately elicits a pretty vivid image. How about Bill Gates on his computer typing a DOS command? CD ... or go to 3. Remember the go-to commands? Anyhow, for me, that's a pretty vivid image. Now, if I can convert that, now how about this? Make it even better. I can envision him holding his right hand on a mouse while he's doing this, and not a mouse as in the computer accessory, a real mouse in place of it. Okay? That might even help the linkage to number 30 better. But anyhow, you don't have to have that. I envision Bill Gates typing a DOS command, and now how do we link that in our heads to the image of the Kool-Aid Man? Let's envision, how about the Kool-Aid man is maybe he's program. Maybe he's the guy. Maybe this. Maybe the Kool-Aid man is typing a DOS command on the computer with mice in his head. So therefore, then we can have all the links in place. Okay. When we think of 30, we think of mice. When we think of mice, we think of the millions of them pouring out of the Kool-Aid man instead of Kool-Aid. And then in that image, we also see the Kool-Aid man sitting down and typing on a computer, typing a DOS command. Oh, DOS, DOS. And then, you might not believe in this technique. I'm telling you it works. Now, why? How do you keep everything straight? How do you know DOS wasn't the president? Yeah. Well, trust me, your true memory will take over. This just aids your true memory. These techniques do. So now, when asked who's the 30th president, you should easily remember, if once you know those peg words, mice. Oh, that's right, Kool-Aid man, Coolidge. And then who was the vice president? Oh, it might take you a second. Oh, no, wait a minute. What was that Kool-Aid man doing? Oh, he's sitting down doing a DOS command. Charles Dawes. And that's basically how it works. So I'd like some video responses, comments, or whatever. It'd be nice to see someone show off their remembering president's prowess. But anyhow, that's my little video for today. Have a good day.